Good evening, everybody. Tonight, we are going to attempt to plant some soybeans. Yes, I know it's a drill. I still call it plant. Get over it. Also, good gravy. Look at that beautiful Kansas sunset, or what's left of it. My goodness, that is gorgeous. I was told I needed to wait 5 days before I started planting out here in our triticale cover crop. Cool down for the herbicide. Well, as of 2 hours ago, it is now 5 days. And they're talking a lot of rain tomorrow, so we're going to try to get something planted before the rain gets here. Hopefully, we got all the kinks worked out of this yesterday. Planted 21 acres of millet for my uncle. I think we're pretty well good to go. Nothing fell off anyways. I do need to change the depth back to about 1.5 inches, maybe 1.75 inches since the large amount of residue that I'm going to be going through. And I also need to calibrate the orange meter roll for the soybeans. And helping me do all that this evening is my J-Tacky service trailer. I've got some videos about that. They're from a while back, but just to sum it up, this is an early 80s code bumper pull stock trailer. It was rough, bought it at a farm consignment sale and converted it into a full service trailer. It's got a toolbox, fuel barrel, air compressor, all sorts of good stuff in here. It's a wonderful piece of kit to have on the farm, and I really do love it. One of my favorite projects of all times. First things first, we need to get the depth set. So bare bottom is 1/2 inch. So 1/2, 3/4, 1, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4. There we go. Now to rinse and repeat 47 more times. All right, that's all done. Let's fire up the cart, get that meter calibrated. All right, calibrate, rear. All right, here we go. All right, got to prime the meter first. Make sure we get that good and full of seed. Alrighty. Now, take this off and gotta go back up into the tractor. I'm really looking forward to 2026 because that's apparently when John Deere's releasing the retrofit kit for that 1910. So you can put the ProCal system on it and electric drive and all that other kind of good stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, that hydraulic drive is a darn sight better than the old ground drive units. But if I never had to use a weigh bag ever again, and yeah, I'd be a happy camper. Alright. All of that just to come back in here and press one button. Alright, back to the cart. Gonna grab the scale, zero it out with the bag on it, then install the bag, and it'll dump a specified amount of seed. I tell it how much it weighed, it keeps track of how many RPMs it made, and then it comes up with its calibration number. Now, how it does all that, yeah, that's a good question. I just find it better not to ask that question because, well, I don't have enough room in my brain for that. Sounds like a complicated question. Let's see. Get this on here. All right. Still trying to figure out that scale. I mean, I've used it for fish and stuff, and it's... That seems to be easier to figure out. Put this on inside out. Son of a gun. Or did I? Nope, it's just that dirty. Oh. Alrighty. Now, I push this button, or flip this switch and run this until it stops moving. I really do love having all these work lights between the service trailer, the air cart, the stuff on the tractor. You can see pretty well at night. I mean, the new stuff's even better than this, so. I'm old enough to remember the days when you couldn't hardly see out of the back of the tractor. Heck, you couldn't hardly see out of the front of some of them older sound guards. All right, that's done. All right, time to weigh it. All right, 9.47 pounds. So now we go back to the tractor. And type in 9.47 pounds. And there's the calibration sequence. Ta-da, done. Well, almost. We're gonna verify the meter. So I have this set at 60 pounds. We're gonna put I think 0.2 should be all right. 0.2 times 60, 12. Yep, good enough. 0.2. This will let me know if I got it right. And back out we go. You know that line from Farmers Insurance? We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Well, I know a thing or two because I've messed up a thing or two. And I've messed up the calibration process, or it just didn't work quite properly. And when I went and verified it, it was way wrong. Something happened, I had to fix it. So that's why I double check, because soybean seed is expensive. All right, let's see what we got. Now, 60 pounds is not going to be the final rate, or at least not that I think it. See, we have 2,420 seeds per pound. I'm shooting for 137,500 population. So, while this is doing its thing, I'm going to do some math. 137,500 divided by 2,420 I'll be putting down my target rate 56.8 pounds. So it's close, but not quite. This will just at least let me know my calibration is either right or wrong. It weighs a little heavy. Oh, you would. Son of a gun. The scale turned off. So, well, I'll just put it on, and then it keeps telling me that the bag weighs 0.99 pounds. So it'll weigh, I'll just subtract 0.99 off of it. 12.56. So we're a little off. All right, so 12.56 minus 0.99 is 11.57. I know, I got my calculator out. It's kind of late at night. I just want to double check my arithmetic. I was a music major. We count to 4 and start over again. So you're like, oh wow, only a half a pound off. Well, a half a pound off on 0.2 acres. If I keep that rate, yeah, if I keep that rate, it's 57.85, which is 2.15 pounds short. So 2.15 times 2420, that'd be a population that I'd be short 5,203. So you didn't know you'd be doing arithmetic late at night with JTAC Farms, did you? And also, shout out to all my elementary school teachers who are telling me, you'll never have a calculator in your pocket everywhere you go. You're wrong, Mrs. Tatro. I really shouldn't say anything bad about her. She was actually one of my favorite elementary school teachers. Moving on. The point I'm trying to make is I take my calibrating very seriously. So I'm going to go in, adjust the calibration numbers by the little bit that I'm off, and then we're going to go do some test planning for a little while, and then I'm going to verify it again. I know, seems like a lot of work, but did I say that soybean seed is expensive? Because it's expensive. Alrighty, that's all put back together. Dump the bags of seed back in the tank. That's all put away. Kick the fan back on. All right, looks like we're ready to get after it. Don't need these now. Now, I did forget to mention that I plant soybeans on 15-inch spacing. We have very much enjoyed 15-inch beans over 7.5s or 30s. I used to like 7.5s, but we had such a problem with lodging, and I was over it. The 15s for us do a great job. They canopy early, much better than the 30s. It's just a win-win. And we get to use a little bit less seed at planting time. Hence the 137,500 population that I'm aiming for. The front gang is going to be putting down seed and fertilizer, and the rear gang is going to be putting down just fertilizer. You don't want to put too much mez down in the trench with soybeans. They get a little, it's like that's whatever that sound is, why is it spicy? Beans don't like spicy. Kind of like me without Tums. I forgot to show you what we're planting through tonight. Now, I mentioned we're going to have to go through a lot of residue. This is our triticale cover crop following our corn last year. Now, we had our heifers out on this for quite a long time. They did great. This was actually outgrowing what the heifers could graze, which I love. There's a lot of biomass here. I chose to not roller crimp stuff this year. We went ahead and sprayed it a little earlier and just try to conserve a little moisture. Last year I tried to do some roller crimping, planting greens, stuff like that, and it didn't quite work out the way I'd hoped. But golly, look at that biomass. I love it. Okay, now we can go plant. All right, we've gone 2.1 acres. So now we're gonna go ahead and hop out, check seed depth, check the calibration on the meters, make sure that's all correct. And then just look over everything else, make sure all the discs are good, nothing's loose, all that kind of good stuff. I wanna be able to just put this in the ground and not worry about things behind me for a little while anyways. I say that, but I'm still gonna be looking back and checking on stuff as I go. I just want to feel a little more at peace about how things are running, and I'll feel a lot better if I just, you know, look things over one more time before we get back and going. Oh, well, would you look at that? 17.08. So we are literally 4/100ths of a pound off. Yeah, that's a difference of 0.24%. AKA, I don't really care. So, good enough. Now, in a perfect world of, you know, lollipops, unicorns, rainbows, where communism never existed, doing this once would be fine. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. There are no unicorns, rainbows don't have ends, and for some reason, people think communism is useful. So, I'm gonna have to come back and re-verify this. I don't know, probably 30 acres or so, something like that. Just, I only have 100 units of this particular seed. Right now we're using the Asgrow, see that's AG34XF3. I absolutely despise the numbering systems and stuff. I do like wheat, you know, with Dominator and Jagger and Post Rock, you know, the cool names. You guys really need to get on that. The marketing folks for wheat have that, you know, dialed in pretty good. All right, so success there. Now I'm gonna go throttle down the tractor and we're gonna go digging in some seed trenches here just to make sure that we're putting stuff where it's supposed to be. All right, so there's our little bean right there. So that is, heck, that's barely an inch deep. I've noticed that I've had a couple of them a little more shallow than what I'd like to see. We're gonna have to turn up the down pressure. Got a lot more residue and stuff pushing back at me than what I think I do. So we'll turn her up a little bit. Good thing I got weights on the air seeder. That's why it's important to double check and make sure you get it right the first time. I don't want to have to replant these things. Did I mention the seed's expensive? All right. Done. Let's turn up the down pressure. The down pressure needle's about a third of the way up into the red. I don't love running that high, but if that's what gets us through this residue, then that's what gets us through the residue. We'll just slow her down a little bit so we don't beat up the air seeder too much. one of the not so fun parts about planting through tall triticale like this is where exactly is the end of the last pass? Like, you can kind of see it, but not really. You know, thank goodness for guidance. Just running adaptive curves around this because, yeah, you can't really see anything. Like, if you're not running guidance and you're planting through this kind of thatch, you either have way better eyesight than I do, or you better be running some really aggressive markers. Because, yeah, kind of tough to see exactly where you want to be. You know, another thing that's kind of tough to see? Deer antlers. Like, if there's one hiding in there, I am not going to see it. The only time I will see it, by the time I see it, it'll already be in the tire. So, that's slightly stressful, but what can you do? Keep on rolling. Also, I forgot to record this. On the second pass around, after turning up the down pressure, we're getting beans down to that 1.5, 1 3/4 mark. They're just kind of right in that same area. Good enough. The only places where I seem to be having any issues, you know, making sure they get in the ground or get to the appropriate depth, are where I'm hitting rocks underneath the soil and it's bouncing the blade up and stuff like that. So we seem to be doing okay. Everything's closing all right. Down pressure's helping. We're just keeping on, keeping on. We are, let's see, 17.9, almost, there we go, 18 acres into this 45, 50 acre patch, something like that. So I'm gonna be out here for a little while longer. And here endeth the first field of soybeans of 2025. Overall, went okay. Had a couple little calibration issues, was putting on a little too much, down pressure issues. All in all, not the worst I've had to deal with on the first field of planting season. So, thumbs up there. It is now 2:27 a.m. I am exhausted and I'm gonna go home and go to bed. And then we'll see what later today brings, because later today we're supposed to get rain in the afternoon, evening, overnight. So I'm here for it. If I can't plant, oh darn, we got rain. But before I call tonight, easiest way to help out my channel, like the video, leave a comment down in the comment section. Just as simple as a thumbs up or a sleeping emoji, which is what I'm going to be doing in about 5 minutes. And then also don't forget to share the video with a friend, an enemy, random person that you met at Starbucks or at the parts counter at the John Deere dealership. And then if you like what you're seeing, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon, so you don't miss another video of all the things we got going on here at JTAC Farms. I hope to see you back next time. Thanks for stopping by. I'm going to bed.